guys, and welcome to another episode of the Alpha Male Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Heather Krause.
And I'm the other sidekick, Gregg, Krause, her father. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to continue on with the topic from last week and got a few questions that were sent into us, which we appreciate. So we'll take it from there.
Okay, pull your mic up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we got a few questions on diet, and it just seemed like we should probably go a little bit further into it because we talked about last week. We talked about macros and fats, proteins, carbs, and a little bit of alcohol. And there's just so much more you can dive into. We were trying to give just kind of an overview, but we decided what the heck and kind of dive more into it.
Especially since we started getting questions.
Yeah.
And one of them was, what's the difference between lean and fatty protein?
Yes. So, there's all different types of protein out there. We are going to stick primarily toward meat versions because, again, we just aren't really big proponents of anything vegetarian. And to be honest, we don't really know a whole lot in that world because, like I said, neither of us we've tried every diet under the sun, probably except being a vegan and vegetarian. So, yeah. So with that said, with meats, you have your more lean proteins, you have your more fatty proteins, you have like your lighter proteins, meaning like easier to digest. So let me just back up. Like your lean proteins are like your chicken breast, I should specify.
Right, and skinless.
Yes, thank you. Skinless, definitely. And let's see, you have turkey, but that turkey can vary in how the fat content. So you do want to pay attention to the percentage. There's flank steak is.
Yeah, I was going to back you up with the turkey. The darker meat is usually the fattier meat.
Yes, absolutely. So light turkey, we have chicken breast. You have flank steak that has basically no fat in it. If you look at it, it's super lean cut, and you can definitely tell the difference when you eat it. It's definitely a tougher meat. I believe venison is. I'm not a big venison eater, but I believe that's pretty lean.
Especially the wild.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then all your white fishes are going to be super, super lean proteins. So in like salmon is where you start to get into the fattier of the fish.
Correct. And I like to eat ground meat because obviously with my situation, it's easier for me to digest it. So what I look for so that I get a little bit leaner ground meat, which I usually try to get grass-fed, which is healthier. I usually look for 90, 92, 96% ground beef. Now, sometimes if they only have the 85, what I do when I cook it up, I drain the fat off of it. So that way it really knocks it down quite a bit, the fat content of the meat.
Yes. And now I'm the opposite. And this is like an example of you eat more carbs during the day. I tend to do a higher fat, lower carb diet. So I will go 85 and keep the meat, or keep the fat rather, and actually sometimes even add some fat to it. So I'm definitely a fat eater, and I'm just not a big carb person. So I've been known to even put like olive oil on my 85% meat.
Yeah, well, before we get into the fats with the proteins, people ask how many grams should I eat per day? Now I know the powers that be say 1 gram per 2.2 pounds of your body weight, which to me is way too low.
Yeah.
I believe you should eat at least 1 gram per pound of body weight, and we touched on this a little bit. If you weigh 250 pounds, that'd be 250 grams of protein split up amongst your meals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that 250 pounds ain't exactly rock hard, and you're trying to get down to like 210, then I would probably set my protein around 210, 220. So that would help in the calorie reduction to get you down to the weight that you want.
Yes. And just to make a point, even if, if you're trying to lose weight, protein is so important that even when in my competing days, 2 weeks out, I'm still eating a pound per body weight. And I'm actually eating a little bit over that, like slightly over. So,
I mean a gram.
Or a gram, I'm sorry, a gram, yes, per pound. And that's like even in my like leanest, and we're still trying to, like shave off pounds at that time. So it really does play a huge part in gaining weight, gaining good weight muscle wise, but it's very important to also keep it in when you're trying to lose weight.
And it really helps curb your appetite where it makes you feel full a little bit longer. And between fat, carbs, and protein burns more calories being digested.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely, if you're trying to lose weight, which is probably most of you out there listening, that is, you want to eat a high protein. You do not want to start cutting that until, I don't even know if you ever should. I don't really, unless it's insanely high that you're eating, but I would keep it as high as I could because your metabolism's going to be higher.
Right, within reason.
Yeah, like don't go 500 grams and you're like
some people
$1.50. Yeah.
But now, when you're setting up, whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, maintain weight, this is where I would keep the protein pretty much the same for all three categories. Unless, once again, you're 250 trying to get down to 210. Then I would cut your protein down 210, 220-ish. But with the other two macros, fat and carb, that's where that comes into play depending on what you're trying to do.
Yes, because you should be eating protein in every meal, basically. And also, one other thing I want to say with protein, because with a lot of the counters, the calorie counters, or I should say like the macro counters are big. Now a lot of people use them. Be aware that they will count like if you put like 2 cups of broccoli in there, you're going to have protein show up. So it's like the protein that's in the broccoli. And one thing that I do is like in a lot of them, you can categorize them like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like where the foods are. I like to put like not what my meals are in there, but I'll put like all my meat proteins, like basically protein. I'll put them in my breakfast, and then like all my carbs I put in as a lunch category, and then I think I group fat with protein because it doesn't really come into play in this. But I separate out my carbs, vegetables, and proteins because they'll usually kick out like breakfast. You have, let's just say, 120 grams of protein. I know that those are that's my real complete protein number, because then lunch, when you factor in it'll say like for my lunch, food, which is all my carbs and my vegetables, it might say like 40 grams of protein. I know that that's not real like protein because it's not complete, because it's made up of all kinds of, like random stuff, like maybe 2 grams from a sweet potato, 10 grams from a cup of broccoli, all the incomplete. So my total is both of those combined. And had I not broken them up, I wouldn't know how much my true protein number is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, in my situation, I eat protein at every meal, and it's complete protein. And just to make sure, sometimes I'll even take an amino acid drink, the essential amino acid drink.
Oh, that's a good idea, to kind of complete anything that's incomplete.
Right. So just in case, but usually I'm always getting complete protein.
Mm-hmm.
But I know if I have to get somewhere quick in the morning, I'll drink some amino acids right then and there because that'll help replenish my body
Mm-hmm.
after sleeping all night. And I'm also getting water in me,
Yeah.
which is good to hydrate, and that'll be another topic.
Well, with you talking about amino acids in the morning, I a lot of people that I know like to work out in the morning, especially, like before work, and they don't usually eat in the morning. And one thing I would suggest, like if you're just obviously you don't want to eat a big breakfast and then go lift. And a lot of times people are pressed for time in the morning because they have to do it before work. I would recommend putting amino acids in your water, maybe even double scoop it, so you're drinking maybe half of it on the way to the gym and then you can finish it as you're lifting. Because don't forget that amino acids, they're not like a protein powder. I know a lot of people don't like to drink protein shake, right before they lift or during their lift. But it's like super thin. Like I don't know how else to describe it. It's basically like a Kool-Aid.
It's pre-digested,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So it's not going to have like that heaviness on your stomach like a protein powder does. So it's really easy to drink on the way to the gym.
And by the way, with our clients, we recommend if you're going to train early in the morning and not be able to eat, then eat a little bit bigger last meal of the day. So that way it'll be digested and you will burn that for energy. Because whatever you try to mix up to drink that in there, whether it's a protein shake or oatmeal, whatever, it isn't going to be digested by the time you're lifting weights if you're eating it on the way to the gym.
Yeah.
So we would rather you eat it, at 8, 9 o'clock at night before you go to bed, or in this way, it's digested and it's ready to go. You got your stored glycogen
Yeah.
that you can use while you're training.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree with that. And then even too, if you wanted a little bit of carbs, you can always throw a little bit of cyclic dextrin in there too, like with your amino acids. Again, it's a tad thicker than amino acids, I would say, but by no means like a protein powder at all.
Right, it's a fast-acting carb that's basically pre-digested, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
Gatorade, we really don't like
No.
because it's like too much going into your intestines, and it's not as good as the trick-dextrin and that stuff.
No.
So I would stay away from that.
Yeah, and there's chemicals in it too. I mean, I don't think it's a good product at all, personally. There's so many better like electrolyte drinks out there too. I mean, I know Gatorade provides you sugar and stuff, but if you did amino acids, a little bit of like electrolytes, and a little bit of cyclic dextrin, like way better of a product than Gatorade ever is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very good on that.
So do you think we got protein covered, and you want to move on to fats or carbs, or you have anything else to?
Yeah, I would just, once again, I know some people ask me, well, if I want to gain weight, shouldn't I eat like 300-400 grams of protein? It's like, that's a very expensive weight gain to go buy all that and try to get all that digested in your stomach. So I would stick to the 1 gram per pound or 1.2 grams per pound of body weight.
And that it's hard to get all that. Like I think some people too, like they don't realize how much you have to eat to like even come in like the 250 range a day. Like that takes effort. You're eating more than a couple times a day.
Right, so if you weighed 200 pounds, you're looking at roughly 200 to 240 grams of protein. If you eat 5 times a day, you're roughly eating about 45 grams per meal of protein.
Well, I'm saying like when the people are like, oh, should I eat like 300? Like they don't realize how much like actually what it takes to get to them. Like
Right.
if you were to said yes to them, they're gonna, and then when they read a diet, they're gonna go, holy shit, because I know it's definitely difficult when I have to write diets for bodybuilders, and their numbers are obviously higher than the average person with the protein, and I'm like, wow, this meal's gonna be a little bit of a struggle getting it all down.
But once again, that's why we try to mix it with different things so it's easier to digest.
Yes, and well, speaking of, actually, I actually have a couple more things with the protein now that I think about it. With digestion, so red meat is always going to take longer to digest than like your fish or your chicken. So after you're done lifting, and actually too before you lift, so if you're eating something right before you lift, you want to go with something lighter that's going to digest faster because you have a shorter period of time between your workout and your meal.
And if I may just say, all that blood goes to your stomach to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going if you were training legs or chest. The blood isn't going in those areas as much
Yes.
as we would like it to.
And the same goes for when you're sleeping. So if you're eating a huge meal right before you go to bed, like right before you go to bed, all your blood's going to go to your stomach and all your energy to digest that, and it's not going to go to repair everything. So also keep that in mind the next time, like if you go to eat, I would definitely go on the lighter side, the later, like closer to bedtime it is. And then, but if you eat, like, let's just say you eat at noon and your workout's not until like 1:30, then you could eat some red meat because that's going to, take slower to digest, and that's going to, like, by the time it's kind of like your food's like ready to go, it's going to be closer to your workout and you're going to be okay. And that's going to give you the energy, and you're not going to need necessarily another meal. Whereas if you ate something that was quicker to digest, let's say like a fish, you might be hungry at like, an hour and a half later, and you might need a little boost before you worked out. So keep that in mind when you pick your proteins. That's just something extra to think about.
Right, and that's where, once again, later in the day, I usually try to work out around 10ish in the morning. This way, the rest of the day, I am able to get all my proteins in. And I'll eat a breakfast about 3 hours before I'm ready to lift in the morning. This way, that's all digested for me, ready to go.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you eat too close, if your food's not digested, like, yes, like you said, all your blood's going to be focused on your stomach, but you're also just going to be kind of sluggish, too. You're not going to perform very well in the gym. The next thing I want to talk about, too, is the quality of protein. Like you mentioned, grass-fed. There is a difference, and it is important because so grass-fed and like the best is grass-finished because obviously, like, with all these like different labels and everything, obviously some companies try to cut costs but make it, sound great and whatever. So a lot of things will say grass-fed, but I believe it's like they can technically put grass-fed on there when like up until the last 6 months before they kill the cow and slaughter it. Then they can switch to grain. And I mean, God knows what else they feed it, but to fatten it up in the last 6 months, and then they can still put grass fed on there. So you still have that. It sounds great, but you still have the cow that ate grains. And the reason to back up why it's important is the fat profile actually changes. So when cows are meant to eat grass in the wild, and like they don't eat grain in the wild. That's like a man-made farming thing that happened. And red meat is actually very beneficial for you, and it has a really good omega-3, omega-6 ratio to it.
Which, you want to explain that real quick?
You know what? Why don't we go back into when we're doing fats? So then it changes. That ratio becomes less or less desirable, I should say, and beneficial to you when they change to grain. So the best thing is grass-fed and grass-finished. It is harder to find. So keep that in mind when you're looking. And then with fish, farm-raised is terrible. And okay, so I saw this video on Instagram that like freaked me out. So they are now vaccinating fish. Okay, and they're not doing that in the ocean. So like the wild caught, they're doing it in these fish farms. And you're like, I'm sure you're thinking, how the hell do you vaccinate a fish? Well, what they do is they like they stun them and they put them on this like belt, and then they like zap them. It's almost like, I want to say like a laser. It's not like they take little needles and like give them shots like a human, but they like somehow blast them, and then they like go back, like they continue on the belt, and then they go like back in the water. Isn't that wild? So like that's what they're doing to your farm raised fish.
And they also, when they catch it to kill it, they put coloring in it to make it look healthier than it really is.
Yeah, like with salmon, that's a big thing. Or like they'll feed it food that has something that causes it to become more pink.
Pinkish orange.
Yeah. So they can do all kinds. Like think about what they do to like our vegetables and stuff, like all the pesticides and everything. And so like take that and transfer it into like the water with like in a like closed off area of water. Like that's what they can do to fish. Like, you know what I mean? They can change all different kind, like feed it chemicals. They can, I'm sure they're putting chlorine in the water to, keep certain things out, like all kinds of chemicals. Those fish are swimming in that.
And thank God RFK is looking at all this.
I know.
Bring this out.
Yes.
Which we are so happy for.
Yes. And we're hoping that, he continues with the same enthusiasm as he did on the campaign trail. It seems like he is. He seems like he's on a mission. So we're going to keep supporting him. But also like they say farm raised fish have a lot of parasites in them, even more so because they're like, what's it called? Like the water is just, it's horrible. It's horribly unhealthy. There's all kinds of just crap in it, because especially too, like fish have to poop somewhere. You know what I mean? Like they're pooping in this like closed off area of water.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of parasites, we both looked at this Instagram video.
Yes. And so a disclaimer though, we have not done it ourselves, but it's on our list. So we will definitely report back. Do you want to tell them what we saw? Cause it was so gross. Oh my gosh, guys, it was, okay. So the whole thing was why you shouldn't eat pork. And so.
Or make sure you really, really cook it
yes,
really good.
Yes. Like very, very good. Like after this video, if I ever eat pork, like I want it burnt because it was so gross.
And pork's a fatty protein.
Yes. So, so like they took like a pork chop at raw and they poured Pepsi on it. And little by little, like you saw these like little air bubbles. And then they kept pouring like more Pepsi on it. And then like you started to see these like little worms come out. And then like the chick that was doing it was like, oh, no, just wait. Dumps out the Pepsi in the sink and goes, I'm going to put like new Pepsi on there. Pours more. This thing came out of the pork that was so big. It was like watching an episode of the Dr. Pimple Popper thing. Like show. It was so gross. It was white. I'm like going to vomit talking about it. But it was like 3 inches long. Oh my God, for real. I can't even think about it. It is so gross. And when we do this experiment in person, I might, if it really is true, I am going to throw up because it was so gross. Oh my God. But yes, we will report back.
Right. But we don't push pork.
No. And I will definitely not push it, or even talk about it after I watch the video.
But we're going to try doing that ourselves to see if it's true or not.
Yes. And if it's not true, then we apologize to the pork industry for spreading bad information.
And we will report back.
But if it was faked, that was a very good AI manipulated video. It had all of us fooled. So, TBD.
Yep. Now, with the proteins, we're going to move on to the next one now.
Yes.
Which will do fat.
Okay. So, with fat, I would say, so there's all kinds of different fats. So, you have butter, which again, I would do grass-fed butter because you want it from the best, like the healthiest cows, or I should say like the cows in the healthiest state. Grass-fed butter, you have ghee, you have coconut oil, and I would do, so for oils, I would make sure that they're unrefined, and cold pressed. And certain oils will have like different, you'll see like different words on it. So like olive oil, you won't see the word refined or unrefined, but you will see it on like coconut oil. And then but then like for olive oil, you'll see like cold pressed on there. And you want to think of like the rule of thumb is you want the least processing done to the oil and the least heat used in the process part of it, because when oil is exposed to heat, especially high heat, that's when all the good beneficial stuff in it is destroyed, and it can also go rancid. So you definitely don't want to stay away from that. So just remember, like, cold is what you're looking for, and unrefined is basically like I don't actually, it's a less processed way, but I can't remember if it has to do with heat or not, with unrefined versus refined, but you want unrefined.
And once again, you want to make sure it's in a glass bottle.
Yes.
And they're in dark, tinted bottles, not clear and not plastic.
Yes, because if the sun hits it, that's why you want it dark, because if the sun hits it, it can go rancid as well. And with the glass, so you got to think about this stuff during transit. So it's probably in like, more than likely the truck is going to be hot. I mean, those things are like metal. And if it's anywhere, in a hot climate.
Right, and if it's shipped over by across the ocean.
Oh, yeah, like God only knows what,
right.
It might not be heat controlled. So that plastic is going to actually get in. If that plastic heats up, it's going to start to leach its chemicals into the oils, which you don't want. So, I mean, that goes for anything, whether it's like skincare oil, oil that you're going to consume, any type of stuff. So keep that in mind.
And one big thing just to throw out, protein and carbs. For every gram is 4 calories. For fat, it's 9 calories.
Mm-hmm. So it'll add up quicker.
Yeah. So a little bit goes a long way as far as calories go.
Yes, absolutely. And then with fats, I'm trying to think.
Well, your body does need fat.
Yes.
Because you don't want to go on a zero-fat diet.
No.
Because you need it for your hormones and different things.
Your brain health,
your heart, your mind,
yeah,
and everything else. Which, once again, we touched on a little bit before about the cholesterol thing, which is a fat. So that's what your brain needs.
Mm-hmm. And one thing, like cholesterol, made me think of eggs. When you eat eggs, it's actually, so this kind of touches in the protein and the fat part, but there's a reason why eggs have a yolk in them. So like, they're like, God made it, like that is the perfect meal, I guess you would say. Because so back in the day, like in the 80s, like egg whites were real popular. Like that's what you should have, everybody was eating egg whites. And in fact, funny story, I did not know egg whites, or I thought scrambled eggs were white up until I was 6, because my dad, that's all he ate in the 80s, like being a bodybuilder. So when I went to a sleepover, they were like, hey, do you want scrambled eggs? And I'm like, sure. And they like served me yellow eggs. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, it's scrambled eggs. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like they're supposed to be white. Why are they yellow? And then the mom had to call my mom and be like, what is wrong with Heather? Like, why didn't she know scrambled eggs are yellow? And my mom had to explain that my dad was a bodybuilder. And
right. Now, I still do eat egg whites, but I put a regular 1 egg, 2 egg, 3 eggs, whatever in it with it, because you do need the good fats from the yolk.
Yeah.
But I like the egg whites because it's higher in protein.
Absolutely. I would just make sure, I would not just eat egg whites though, because the reason is that egg whites are more they're more allergenic.
Which I'm going to say, I did an allergy test, and our good doctor from Columbus found out I was allergic to egg whites because I had been eating them for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I got over it was I went to eating duck eggs.
Oh, yeah.
And I got off of the egg whites for quite a while now. I'm back, and once again, I do eat egg whites, but I put yolks in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do no longer have that allergy.
Yeah, because so like how you cook the egg too matters. So like somebody might, if you tend to have like a food intolerance is very different than like a food legit allergy. You know, like a food intolerance, um, nothing like you don't swell, like your face doesn't swell up. You're not in danger. You know, when you eat something, you just like your stomach might get messed up. You might get bloating, whatever. Um, if you find yourself, let's just say you eat, you're eating egg whites and that's happening. I would try adding in a yolk or two and seeing what happens because scrambled eggs are actually the least allergenic when it comes to eggs. How to cook them, just because it's like mixed in and like it's I don't know how else to describe it. It's like evenly distributed. You know what I mean? And like it's all mixed together. Whereas like sunny side up, you're just eating parts of the egg white, you know, and then our parts of the yolk. It's still a little bit separated. Um, Not that that's bad. It's just if you are more sensitive to like to eggs, scrambled might be like your go-to thing.
Right, and that's a good source of protein and fat. The whole egg.
Yeah, and so how you were saying with how you switched to duck eggs in food in general, but I think protein more specific, like more I should say most importantly, because most people tend to have issues with certain proteins sometimes, like because whether they you know that's all that they eat or whatever. There's all kinds of different reasons on why you get food intolerances, but and stress is a huge one too. Just for you guys to keep that in mind. Um, but it's good to rotate your food so that does not happen. So like if you might go through, you know, like if you like eggs, even before something happens, you don't want to wait until like ship breaks and then you rotate your food. You want to prevent it. So you would, you know, you can do egg like chicken eggs, you know, like maybe for a week and then maybe switch it to duck eggs for a week. Like just make sure you're rotating your stuff and you're not eating the exact same thing every day, every week. Because I had that happen to me with protein powder, with whey protein powder. And I had like this was actually when I was training for a competition. We couldn't figure out why I couldn't lose this like tire around my waist. I was getting leaner everywhere else. And here it was, I was eating whey protein a couple times a day. And it was causing water retention around my stomach.
Right, which that's the way your body reacts to
Yes.
stress put on it, the cortisol and everything.
Yes. So, like, and also another little fun fact about food intolerances, they're kind of hard to pin down because they can actually your signs of them can actually show up to 5 days after that, and they can show up in all different kinds of ways. Like your elbow could just be bothering you, like it could inflame that, and that's like your sign that you have like a food intolerance. Like they can have all like headaches, you know, migraines. Like with my case, stomach, water retention around my stomach because my gut was inflamed. Basically, is what was going on, and so it's those can be very very tricky. So it is important, like I said, to don't wait until something's broken and then you got to fix it because also once you have one intolerance, the inflammation can lead to other intolerances. So it's like best to prevent them in the first place.
Right, because that puts such a stress on your body.
Mm-hmm.
Then your body starts resisting a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
With the fats, once again, your body either burns it as energy or it stores it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, once again, you have to be careful because a lot of people who are overweight, it's not because they eat a lot of fat.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they eat too many carbohydrates,
Yeah.
which we'll get into in a little bit here. But don't make fat out to be the bad guy.
No.
Because our bodies do need it. And as Heather brought up some of the fats, one of the other fats, macadamia nut oil, is another good one for you to use. Whether you use it in cooking or putting it on your food, whatever, to meet the macros that you're trying to reach.
Yeah. And then like almond butter. You can do peanut butter, but a lot of people actually have issues with peanut butter. Not in an allergic reaction way, but intolerance way that can cause inflammation, brain fog, things like that. So
And I would make sure you get natural peanut butter or almond butter.
yeah, make sure, because a lot of them have sugar in them or other chemicals in it. So just natural is always better. I know even like a lot of grocery stores are making their own. You know, they have like the peanut butter machines or nut butters because they're making all kinds of different nut butters in them usually. So that's really good that they have that option as opposed to like Jif that I I mean the last time I looked, it had sugar in it. They might have changed it and cleaned up their act. I mean, I I don't know. Do you think like in a year? Because like so they RFK put in that thing where they're banning all what is it, artificial dyes in food. Yeah. Like I wonder what food's gonna look like in like a year. Like if it's gonna if these companies even like if they have something even more than dye, like are they just gonna start jumping on the train to like prepare what to start cleaning this stuff up?
For our youth's sake and everybody that's addicted to that stuff right now.
I know. It's crazy. Well, and like they say, you know, you can go over to Europe and eat like Italy. You can eat fine. Like I know some girl who went over there. I used to work with her. She was like my height, and she's like, I am gonna eat. And the reason why I say she was my height because we were both short. So like 5 pounds on us is like you notice it, you know. And we obviously gain weight easier than the average person because we're shorter. Like our bodies are smaller. But she's like, she was going over there for 2 weeks, and she's like, I am going to eat nonstop. She's like, I already mentally prepared. I'm going to gain 12 pounds. I'm okay. Like, I'll come back fatter. It's fine. Whatever. She went over there, and she came back. She's like, Heather, you're never going to believe this. I ate like 4-course, 5-course meals every meal. I was eating gelato all the time. I was eating this, like pastas, pizzas, everything. She goes, I lost 8 pounds. And I'm like, what? It's insane. And so many people say like they go over there, they're eating, they can eat like pizza, drink their, like even the wine over there is different. They don't have headaches after it. Like they're not, I don't want to say they're not hungover, but it's not like here how we.
Right. Which just goes to show when you have cleaner food.
Yeah.
Your body accepts it and ends up burning it up. It doesn't store it as body fat.
That's why I think that there wasn't so many like fat people overweight people walking around like in the 40s, 50s, like 60s is because the food was so much cleaner. Like think about it. How much did you like I'm sure you were eating a ton back then, you know? Nobody was.
Well, as I mentioned, we used to drink whole milk.
Yeah. And like I don't know. It's insane.
The cows were real cows back then.
Yeah.
They didn't have all that stuff put in them.
Well, we had a doctor tell us that there are 2 different cows, that there's like an A and a B cow, and the Europe actually has the better ones. Like because the cows that we have are more allergenic to people. So, and he was seeing a lot of dairy allergies in his practice, and he's like, what the hell's going on? So he decided to work on a dairy farm because he's like, I got to, figure out this, and I want to be on the front lines and see what's going on. So he did that, and the farmer actually had 2 different groups of cows, one for his family, and like where his family would drink the milk from, the cheese, everything, and eat the meat. And then this other group of cows is what, he sold to the mass public. Yeah. And he's like, oh my God. And then he realized like that's what a lot of the farmers do is they, separate them and they keep the good ones. And the good ones, we don't have a lot of them in America. So it's just, I don't know. It's just so ridiculous. I feel like everything in America we should not have these issues. It's kind of bizarre that we do.
Well, let's hope RFK keeps
I know. Somebody's got to do it.
But now with the fat, we recommend you either keep your fat medium, or if you're going to keep your carbs low, you can increase your fat content a little bit more.
Yes, and we're not talking like 200 grams by any means. Like, I don't care if you're eating 0 carbs for the day.
Once again, it's 9 calories per gram.
Yeah. So calories do come into play. However, my personal belief is, someone can, disagree with me, whatever, you can get away with eating a lot more when you're on a low carb, high fat diet. And so that is in my experience. When I feel like I have to pay more attention to my calorie number when I start adding carbs in, and like lowering my fat, as opposed to like when I switch over to a low carb, high fat. To be honest, I don't count calories. I don't even look, and I'm eating a ton of fat.
And, well, it fills you up more.
It does,
So
but
you feel full longer.
absolutely. I've just noticed though, with me particular, when I add in carbs, like when I switch over to a lower fat, or I should say medium fat diet with some carbs, I got to be careful on my overall calorie amount.
Well, if you eat more carbs, your body seems like it craves them more, so you end up putting in a lot more calories. Where with a higher protein and fat, you feel full longer. Your satiety is there, so you're not craving. Where if you ate a bag of candy, a lot of times, if there was another bag there, you would dive right into that because that sugar just gets the body spiked and craving more, even though your belly's full.
Yeah.
It becomes more psychological than actually needing something.
Well, they say sugar's more addictive than cocaine. I believe that. And one thing too to point out that if you do decide to jump on the low carb, high fat bandwagon, just know that your sugar receptors in your brain become super sensitive. So when you do fall off the wagon, it's bad. So like you just know that. So like if you're like, let's just say you're like, I want to break my diet, like let's say it's a celebration, you're like, I am going to eat this cake. Keep that in mind that I don't want to say you have a plan in place, but like you understand that cake is going to signal your brain to go, holy shit, we have sugar again. And you're going to want to keep eating.
And I think we mentioned this once before. If you're at a party, eat the good food first, and that way let it settle a little bit before you dive into what you crave.
Yeah.
Because this way, once you're eating your crave food, your stomach's going to feel a little bit full, so that'll slow you down.
Yeah.
But if you dive right into that piece of cake, ice cream, cookies, whatever it may be,
yeah,
the gloves are off.
Yeah.
Because then your brain is just craving it like crazy.
And that's why, like, you see bodybuilders after a show, if they go, and like our rule of thumb always is after a show, like I remember you would never let me eat, like no alcohol right after a show. And like, I might have had a bite of a cake one time. Like I usually just do a burger, fries, no sugar until like probably day like 4 or 5 after I'm starting to like get back to like adding more calories and everything else, because a lot of these people, they have donuts waiting for them backstage, which is like the stupidest thing to do, because that it's not one donut, it's like 2 dozen, and then their body blows up because they haven't had sugar and they can't stop eating it. And like it's the 2 dozen donuts, and then they go to eat pizza, and then they go and like they just can't stop.
Their body retains a lot of fluid, which a lot of people end up in the hospital. They have to get drained.
Yeah, and so like the low carb diet is a less extreme version of that, but that same thing would happen. You're gonna gain a ton of water weight that day because the carbs hold on to all the a lot more water, especially because
4 parts water for every gram of carb.
Yes. So, and then you're probably going to have a really bad headache because your potassium sodium level is going to be off.
Right, and that's all going to have an effect on you. Now, carbs are not bad if they're used properly. And just so you know, to keep it simple, there's complex carbohydrates and there's fast-acting carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates would be ones that take longer to digest, like an oatmeal.
Yeah.
Where a fast-acting carbohydrate would be like white rice. That gets broken down super quick.
Yeah, sweet potato, white potato, things like that.
Now, both are good for you if used properly.
Yes.
Now, in my own case and with clients of ours, if we're eating carbs before the workout, we want ones that'll be a little bit more fast acting. If it's earlier in the day, we would look for more of a complex carbohydrate that would burn a little bit slower. Now, when you're done training, like for instance today with myself, I had a fast acting carbohydrate with jasmine rice along with my ground chicken breast. So this way, the fat was at a minimum, the protein was high, and the carbohydrate was high. It was fast acting with the jasmine rice.
Yeah, because fat will slow down digestion. So right when you're done working out, you want to get that stuff like digested and in your muscles, like used up. So you do not really want fat right after your workout.
No, because that'll slow it down, the recovery, the rebuilding of everything you tore down. And once again, you don't build yourself up when you're training at the gym.
Yeah.
You're tearing yourself down. And this way your body comes in like carpenters to rebuild after a fire with somebody's house. It comes in and then it rebuilds it back bigger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it needs to have the right materials. Now, later in the day, I'll have my grass-fed beef that'll have a little bit more fat than my ground chicken did. But my carbohydrates will be dropping because I don't need it. I'm done. My glycogen stores are filled back up. And now I'm just rebuilding with the protein and, once again, the fat that my body needs for my hormones and everything else.
Yeah, and I know I said this last week, but carbs also play a role in cortisol production. They bring it down. So, if you are noticing yourself more stressed, you are probably noticing yourself craving more carbs, but they can be utilized at the end of the day, right before bed, if you're, your mind's racing, you're like too stressed out to sleep, because sleep is very important. So you want to make sure that you're, sleeping, because that's also what helps build, like that's when you are building yourself back up too. So that you tear yourself down at the gym, but you rebuild when you're eating and when you're sleeping. So you want to make sure that you get the best sleep possible. So that's when I would, add a little bit of carbs, like at your last meal, for that. So keep that in mind. So where, like you said, you're not.
But that doesn't mean a bag of Skittles.
No, and we're talking about more complex carbs, some of those slower digesting ones. And I would eat it, like if, let's just say you go to bed at 11, I wouldn't be eating it at 10:45, choking down a thing of oatmeal real quick. I would be eating that at like 9. And so you have time to digest it and everything else.
Now, on some occasions, I'll have a bowl of oatmeal with some protein powder and a scoop or two of almond butter, because the fat will help slow down the digestion of the oatmeal also even more so. So this way, it'll help me, once again, like Heather brought up about being able to fall asleep and helping my body rebuild for what I did that day and to get me ready for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not that like if I was at the extreme, like if I was competing for a bodybuilding show again, I would be probably taking away those carbs. It's because you're in such an extreme like situation and the littlest thing matters, so you're not going to be eating carbs on your last meal. But in the everyday, the average person, you're not going to really notice that. And you're going to get better weight loss results because you're going to lower your cortisol with having a little bit of carbs at your last meal. So it's not going to really hurt you because you're going to counteract that cortisol production. And again, we mean like a little, like 25 grams. I wouldn't be going crazy. Also, with that said, when you were saying like with your workout and how, how they're utilized properly, if you guys are working on, and let's just say you're trying to build up a certain body part that, might be lacking, a lot of people that's legs, you could eat, let's just say like with what I do personally is on my days I don't lift, I hardly have any carbs at all. Like my carbs are pretty much my vegetables.
Right, because once again, carbs are used for energy.
Yes.
And you really don't need it on that day because you're not doing anything over and above daily maintenance.
Absolutely. And then so like on my days that I do like my arm or my back, I don't really want to build up my back. So I'm not really going to eat like I am on like my glute or my leg day on which I would like to build. So I might have some like medium carbs. And again, my carbs are always going to be on the low end. Even if I say medium, they're medium to me. And then same with then on like leg or glute day, I'm increasing my carbs and they're the highest I'll ever eat for the week on those days. Which again, I'm in like 75, maybe 100 grams on my like super high days. I know I'm so low. That like to a bodybuilder, that's like a low day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go as high as 600, 700 carbs on my high days. Obviously, I'm not competing anymore, so I don't take it up higher than that. But once again, if you're trying to gain weight, carbs will help you with that. But one good thing is...
Wait, really quick, though, I do want to point out, when you say gain weight, you like muscle weight. Yeah, so...
Correct.
Yeah, so even like if you guys also, like, let's just say you're overweight and you're out of shape, okay? So you want to... You know that you want to weigh less, but you also know that you don't have a lot of muscle on you. I would be eating to build muscle. Like, that's how I would approach this. I do want to just clarify that because...
Very good point.
Right, because if you are eating, like if you're taking advice on how to lose fat, all you're going to end up looking like is a very skinny guy.
A skinny fat person.
Yeah, you're not going to look like this toned, because you have to build, though. It's like, okay, if you see like a guy that's ripped, it's not that he just lost fat and that's just like what muscles look like without work done to them. Like you have to build that up so they show through. So your goals should be to build muscle. Like even if let's just say you're 70 pounds, even 100 pounds overweight, but you have never really worked out, you still want to think in terms of, I want to build muscle and that's how I'm going to eat, because eventually that fat's going to come off as you build the muscle.
Right, and that'll burn more calories. Mm-hmm. Your body feeding the muscle that you've added to your frame.
Yes, because if you're just concentrating on fat loss, your metabolism is going to slow down. The less because like if you think about it, you're like how much energy you expel like during the day is contingent upon how much you weigh. So like you expend a lot more calories than I do during the day. So if you're like 500 pounds and all of a sudden you're down to 300 pounds, your caloric expenditure throughout the day is going to be way, way, way less. So if you don't have any muscle to keep your metabolism up, it's going to be a struggle. You're going to end plateauing.
And an easy way to know if your metabolism up, if you feel hot. A lot of times we'll take people's body temperature, mm-hmm. because if you diet too extreme, your metabolism slow down and so will your body temperature. Mm-hmm. And this is why usually when we're working with people, we'll rotate the calories a little bit, having some high, low days and medium days, because this way your body doesn't get used to anything where it can't slow down. Because even if we were dieting you for a show, we would keep them low for a little bit, but then mm-hmm. we would have some people call it a refeed day or whatever, but what we're basically doing is or upping your calories, because then your body goes, well, what's this?
Yeah.
And it speeds back up again. And then it continues to go because your body, if you take it down too low in calories, will just conserve very slowly burning things because it's trying to protect your life.
Yeah. And I would, when you like, I think the easiest way to like bounce your calories is to do it around your lifting. So like your lifting days, eat more. Like I think the easiest thing to do, like if you really aren't into like if you aren't diet nerds, like I think like we're diet nerds. Like I love playing around with diets and thinking about it. And if you're just like this is just not what I want to do, I think the easiest thing to do is to have a base like come up with like a base meal like in your head and how like what how much protein you're going to eat and then just rotate them and with fats and then maybe a little bit of carbs and have that be like your low day. And then on the days that you lift, just like double the carb amount. And then that would just
Right. And I mean, we weigh our food. That's just the force of habit. A lot of people don't want to do that, and that is fine. But you should get in the habit if you're eating, let's say, a handful of meat that would fit in my hand, and my weight is slowed down where I need to start burning calories again. Just take a little bit of that meat away. That's reducing your calories, whether it's rice, oatmeal, whatever, but that's a very simple way. You don't have to go to the extremes with measuring everything. You can eyeball it
yeah.
and then just gradually keep cutting back a little bit.
Well, I
But
do. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't do it too drastic because that'll slow down your metabolism, because it's like you're going to run 5 miles and you start out sprinting. Pretty
Yeah.
soon you're going to be jogging, then you're going to be walking, and then you're going to be crawling. And that's not what we want for you to be able to get to the body weight and have the type of body that you want.
Absolutely. One thing about measuring, I do think it's a good idea. By no means do I think people should walk around with scales for the rest of their life and measure every meal. However, I do think it's a good idea to maybe the first couple days to actually measure food so you understand what like 4 ounces is. I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to like tablespoons, a lot of people don't know what a tablespoon actually is, like, especially when it comes to like almond butter. I mean, that's kind of how I am when I'm making like my protein shakes in the morning. I'm like, oh, giant scoop, tablespoon, when really that's probably like 2, maybe even 3. Because like I said, I do eat a lot of fat, so I really like don't care. But I do think it's important for people to know what like how much actual one serving is, and then eyeball it the rest of the way.
And by the way, too, like with you taking that extra big scoop of almond butter, this is one thing we can't stress enough to you. You set your plan up. If you fall off the wagon and you go crazy, you buy a bag of Oreos and you kill the whole thing, that's not the end of the world. If you've been good, your body's going to look at that and go, what the heck is this? And speed it up and burn it up and get rid of it. The worst thing to do is to go, oh, I give up on this, and then you just start to eat bad again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just get back to doing what you were doing again. Don't beat yourself up.
And that's why I think it's important to be realistic with your diet and to look at it as lifestyle eating and because usually when you like a lot with our clients, when we set them up on a lifestyle plan and it's more like they actually think about their life, it's not short term, you kind of work stuff in to it, there is no falling off. Because it's when you're on a diet, quote unquote, you're deprived of everything. And because you usually, like, that's what happens with people. When they go on a diet to lose, maybe 15 pounds.
I'm never going to have that again.
Yeah. Like, give me a break. You are 100% are going to eat ice cream again, or you're 100% going to eat like cheesecake. And if you plan that into it, and like, and I think we mentioned this last week, if you know you're going to some party that's going to have good food that you want to eat, then just lift that day and have that be your high carb day. And then you framing that as that is what is supposed to happen. Like, I'm eating this to fuel my muscles after I'm done lifting. That you will not, usually people do not then go and fall off the wagon and go crazy. But if they're depriving themselves in their mind, they're like, never going to eat cake again, whatever. And then even if they lift and then they go to eat that piece of cake, they're, oh my God, this is the end, like I'll just throw this away for the rest of the day. I'm going to just, eat whatever. And then that usually bleeds into the next day. They feel like crap. They don't get a workout in, and it just snowballs.
Right, and if you do too, I highly recommend the next day drink a lot of water.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That'll help flush your body out, because it always seems like sugar is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You can eat all the red meat you want, because that isn't going to cause you to be off the wagon.
Yeah, no one seems to like go nuts after eating a steak. Isn't that weird? Or even like a sweet potato. So like it is, people also need to like, because I think that I don't know, they kind of look at the like cake, it's just because it's like high calorie, and it's not. It's like you're eating drugs. And I think I've probably said that on this podcast before. Like, that never happens when, again, like I said, sweet potato, you're eating jasmine rice, white rice, brown rice, whatever, oatmeal. Like, I don't go crazy after I'm done eating oatmeal. And it's always just sugar. So think about that. Like, you guys are, people, that's what they always tend to cut out, is your, like, chips, like, certain brands of chips, like, yes, you do eat them, but I feel like with sugar, that's like the main culprit that people just fall off the wagon and go nuts. Like, don't get me wrong, you can eat a whole bag of chips sitting there, but that's not usually what like triggers somebody to like then go eat a cake and then go eat that. It's usually, it starts with the sugar and then it just spirals.
And by the way, we always tell people, don't go grocery shopping hungry. Because if you buy it, you're going to bring it in your house, and it's going to be looking at you every day. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, at night, if you're sitting there chilling, watching TV, about every other commercial's a food commercial, which gets you thinking about eating something that's not necessarily great for you. Mm-hmm. And if it's sitting in the pantry, that's very easy for you to go get and open up. But if you got to get dressed, go drive to the store and go buy it and bring it home.
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, most of the time you talk yourself off the ledge, and it's like, I don't really need it. So don't bring it home.
And one other thing, too, I want to point out with, again, like this mostly pertains to carbs. If you have, like, you love, like, let's just say, like, chocolate, or you love potato chips or whatever, and you're trying to cut that out of your life, at least, like, limit it. Because I don't believe in cutting anything out full boat ever. Like, yeah, especially if you like it. Like, why not? But, like, okay, like with chocolate, make sure you start buying something that is good quality chocolate, like, because you will realize that like you're maybe a fourth of the like chocolate bar in, you actually don't want it anymore because it's actual real ingredients. And this goes back to what we were talking about with all the chemicals and crap. When you buy a cheap chocolate bar, you want to eat the whole thing and then you want more. So, and the same goes with like chips. Buy good, like spend more money on a good quality brand like product, and buy like chips that are actually like fried in like avocado oil or like beef tallow, like whatever it is, something that's good, as opposed to like canola oil crap, chemical filled chips. Because you will start to really notice a difference, because yes, it's, sugar, but I also think it's all the chemicals.
Yep, that is for sure. Now, we're not putting carbohydrates down. Carbs have their place.
No, but they're the ones that seem to like be an angel and a devil. Like, like with fat, you don't really see that. It's like you don't get me wrong, you have the bad like the canola oils and things like that you should not touch. But fat in general, it doesn't make you fall off the wagon or it doesn't cause diabetes. And it definitely does not cause heart disease for all those people that are still behind the times and think that it does. But carbs that's the one you have to be the most careful with.
Yeah, now, if you're trying to gain weight, you're a young person and you're going to play sports or you're just naturally too skinny, you could play around with your carbs to help yourself put weight on. But I would also, like we said, keep your fat up and obviously your protein. Where, on the other hand, if you're trying to lose weight, which seems like it's about 70-80% of us,
Yeah.
this is where you want to play with your carbohydrates. And on days where you're not as active, and by the way, when we say training days, it doesn't mean you have to go be a weightlifter or anything else. You could do your yoga, you could be doing your calisthenics. That's the same thing we're talking about. That's just as important.
Yeah, maybe we should say exercise day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Active day. Or play a sport. Like,
Right.
same thing.
That's right, because you're going to try playing pickleball shortly.
That is true. Yes. I'm going to, again, we got to look up the rules. But we have a family friend coming into town. She comes to Ohio for the summer. So she's going to take me under her wing and show me all this stuff. So I hope to God
I'll have to learn how that is.
Yeah, I hope to God it's not like volleyball. Like, I know it's not like volleyball where you like use your hands to hit it, but like I get very spastic when I play volleyball. Like I don't know why. Like when the ball comes to me, I get crazy. So I'm hoping I don't have the same thing when I play pickleball. God help whoever my partner is.
But with the carbohydrates, make sure you stick to more complex for most of the day.
Yeah.
Around your training, your calisthenics, your pickleball. That's when you can add the carbohydrates in, the simple ones, before the competition or the activity, and afterwards to replenish yourself. But then after that, I would start tapering off.
Yeah.
Or going to a more complex.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, as you were saying that, this just popped in my head. For all those Office TV show lovers, there's an episode when they do a 5K, and Michael Scott reads how you have to carb load before a race. So he's eating fettuccine Alfredo right before the race, and then he throws up and he can't make the race, can't make it all the way through the race. So keep that in mind, because that's actually a good lesson for dieting. When we say a little bit of carbs before, you want the fast acting, not the fettuccine Alfredos, and just a little bit, enough to get you energy. And that is everything that we say is a recommendation, and it's kind of like a starting point where you then kind of personalize it and test stuff. So I would try, 15 grams before a workout, and then
right. And then slowly work your way up if you need more.
Yes, if you're seeing you're dragging, okay, try 25, and then if you might, even if you feel good at 25, you might want to see how you feel a little bit more, and just kind of test, because you can always go down. And then same with after, you might try 25 grams, and if you're just not noticing the results that you want after lifting, push it to 50, 75. I mean, you can go a lot higher. I would recommend going a lot higher after you're done working out than I would before you work out.
Correct. And once again, a workout could be going for a walk.
Yes.
Whatever fits your lifestyle. But once again, all these little things will get you headed in the right direction.
Yes.
Of getting you closer to your ideal body weight.
Yep.
Well, I think we covered quite a bit.
I know that's a lot. We talked a lot longer on this than I thought. I thought this was going to be more of a kind of a little recap and just go a little bit further into stuff. And as you can tell, we love talking about diet.
So I hope we answered your questions that you sent in to us. And if you do have more,
yeah, feel free to email us at info@thealphamalepodcast.com and just put questions in the subject line. And then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it.
yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.